Welcome to this channel. If you only really watch my football videos, which come out Friday and Monday, it's because I record them on a Thursday and a Saturday, so I have to think the next day ahead. So you can start your week and you can end your week. My name's Theo. Play middle linebacker for the Hilversum Hurricanes. That's in the Netherlands. That's in Europe. I speak English, and I don't live in the United States. I already had a couple comment threads on various other videos about that. Get it through your heads. And at the first part of every video, I go through the previous comments on my football-related videos, or if someone miscomments, that's fine. I still know if you're asking about football stuff. Okay, so going back to the 5 tips for basic linebackers, I already answered that guy about his size and weight. I wound up actually saying, I really think at your age you should probably be a fullback or a middle linebacker, maybe somewhere on the line. at his, yeah, he really wants fullback. Alexandro de Great. Alexandro de Great. All one word sometimes confuses me. I'm learning quasi-German and mostly Dutch right now, so long words, and I gotta figure out what part is, that's a different video. Football uniform suit at Bridge City Ballers. Timestamp 1:50. Now you're good. Yeah, I know exactly what that is. That's the one where I had to reference the poster in the background from the away uniform of the Pit Bulls. Different video. I hope the NFL drafts you. Well, the 2 people that are in that thumbnail are not going to be drafted by the NFL. Most people retire from the NFL by the time they're 28, and both of the people in that video are over 28. Well, now over 28. Somebody's going to be hitting the big 3-0 here soon. I'm going to drag him. And then a big comment from Javon, longtime subscriber. Have you thought about playing defensive end? Yes. I've thought about playing every position. Tried, not really. In a previous video, I was finally coached properly because the state system only teaches you proper stance stuff in high school and middle school, not in semi-pro where they think you've already flunked out of high school football and are trying to make it big. So they don't teach you that kind of stuff. Apparently you can do it wrong. There's a thing in your brain called the mimic center, and I might go over that one a little bit later, the neurology of football coaching, but I have issues with my mimic center, my mirror neurons is what they're called. So apparently they don't do that very well. So when I see somebody do a 3-point stance and then I try to do what I see them doing, I do it wrong. Or I do it it's like someone does this and they go, and I go, I almost do it backwards, but in the exact same way, but backwards. It's weird. I haven't quite figured it out, but I just recently got coached on how to do a proper 3-point stance. Another video if people really want to understand that process. And he says you could be a standing defensive end. You'll be a beast because of your size. I feel like that's a lightly veiled fat joke. Which I do understand that Nick Bosa is one of those standing defensive ends. When I see his, there's no picture of him in a 3-point stance or even 4. There's a lot of him injured, but aggressive players get injured more. Not saying that non-aggressive players can't be. Sometimes non-aggressive. It's awkward how you can play more aggressive and get less injured, but your injuries are bigger. But yeah, there's just nothing of him in a 3-point stance. Oh, no, there it is. There's one picture of him at 3 points. So I do agree with you that I probably could. I do mainly train with the linemen because we don't have a lot of people at practice. So it's sort of like when I'm the only linebacker, I could go hang out with the DBs, which are all small and skinny, or small and round, or tall and skinny, everyone else. I think the only stacked DB we have is probably Sophion. And that dude is from an outside linebacker. When he's a roll down safety, he's a terror. Like, it's, but Corona and Winter put a little bit of punch on him, and I'm like, hey. But anyways, that's pretty much that. We'll see how time goes. We do run a 4-3 and regularly only have 3 defensive linemen, so we have to pull in an O lineman. So we usually have 2 dedicated defensive ends because O linemen can kind of pull off D line at the middle guys. So yeah, maybe I'll be there one day. Who knows? Maybe I'll get all the way up from the 40s into the 90s. I have no idea. I don't know where my career takes me. I mean, 6 years ago, I was like, I'm going to go play in Europe. And like 2 years ago, I finally got here. And now I'm playing in Europe. And I have no idea what a 5-year plan is. And if I play for another 5 years, I have no idea what's going to happen. Let's hope I can edit that one down from 8 minutes. All right. There's no new comments. So let's move on to the actual community post that I posted that I think... So we're going to have, like, this is a bit longer of a video because we're going to talk about football around the world. All right, now that I've got new coffee, you guys have had a bullshit ad break. I've got my tabs sorted out. Awesome. So we're going to start with Texas within the United States. Let's see here, we got Texas, Alabama, Britain, and Germany. So that's what we're doing today for the little bit of news breakdown. The Texas high school is about the guy who charged the ref and has been charged with assault. Oh, he's a troubled guy. Yeah, okay. Like, people are really shocked that the team got removed from the playoffs. But like, oh no, just one bad character. One bad apple shouldn't spoil the bunch. You guys do realize that's kind of the motto of the States right now, right? Kind of has been for decades. It's not just one bad person, it could be a bad few people. A bad 1,000 people can damn 1.6 billion, I guess, you know? So it's kind of the motto of the States, but yes, much like with the military, if one person can't do all their push-ups, or one person doesn't make the lap, or one person misbehaves, the entire squad plays, gets punished. Same thing happens here on my Dutch football team. If one person false starts on our sprints before practice, or doesn't seem to put in full effort at the 100%, we got to do another sprint and another sprint. And sometimes, if we have a new player that day, and we do on 3, it's understandable that they don't necessarily know. We don't punish the team for someone who doesn't understand that concept. But if Sven jumps off sides, especially with the receivers doing it. But anyways, yes, a full team being punished. Oh, removed from the playoffs? Well, it apparently shows that this guy has had a problem before, and who knows how many games he's had issues like this that the team kept under wraps, held him down on the bench, all that jazz. Or, and in other sports or something like that. It says right here, Edinburgh is no longer eligible for postseason play as a result of the incident. There hasn't been any news about maybe any lingering medical damage done to the ref. The guy did not look like he was in the top bits of health to be tackled by a teenage tight end or whatnot. Just by a teenager in full football gear. Oh, he's qualified as according to a different paper, the star defender was suspended the 2019-2020 soccer season, that's the other incident, for a similar one that took place this last Thursday. He's also a standout wrestler, but that's the saying. a lot of people are like, oh, he should never play again. And my joke is, he's probably going to be starring on Last Chance U. Like, don't be, people are like, oh, I want to go to that high school. Don't, like, they still cast for that show. Don't think, everybody, you got to think, if it's on television and it's professionally produced, they're casting for it. So they're looking for people, even if they are only, it's another issue that a lot of people, that's why I don't really watch Last Chance U, is because it reminds me heavily of the guys from semi-pro that are trying to make a name for themselves, but are just trying to be fake badasses. Okay, next one is positive, and do not, this is something that my German head coach says, and he will not give up. I mean, there are literally times where you are looking at 5 seconds left in the game and you are down by 30 points. Or we are up by 30 points because we've blown somebody out. That's fine. You can call the game at that point. The problem here is the saving grace that not only, they kind of phoned, the blue team, I don't know which one's which. I didn't do a lot of research, and I don't know Alabama that well. But the blue team was kneeling, but they were, not kneeling very well. I kept seeing them kind of, catch the ball, back, kneel. And I was like, I watched this video, 3 or 4 times, and I'm just like, 3 or 400 times, because everybody shared it on Facebook. It showed the white team, oh God, it's over. And then 10 points happened in 18 seconds, and it was just for a while there, you were watching the white team, and the white team was down. So the blue team was ahead and they were kneeling, but it wasn't anywhere close to kneeling probabilities. And they wound up leaving a door open. They goofed up. Now, to be fair, there's a lot of people, have their coaching decisions about this. I don't really like it because they're like, well, after I'm a Hall of Fame coach, I've been coaching for 40 years and I've had over 300 wins in high school football across Texas, and this is the worst thing ever. I don't care. It's like Waxana Troy saying her entire name and all of her titles and all the various artifacts she holds from the Beta to Z. I don't care, woman. If you have to announce your entire title, something is full of bullshit. And it shows here 18 seconds on the clock, trailing 28-26, because they'd gotten, minute 18, trailing. Thompson looked dead in the water. Okay, so Thompson is the white team. Turnover gave Auburn the ball at the 20-yard line, but instead of calling a few run plays and trying to score, a dagger of a touchdown, sealing the deal, or even getting in the position of a field goal, they went for shotgun victory formation. It's the kneeling thing. Basically, they had lost a lot of yards. They prepared to punt the ball away, and the clock ticked under 30 seconds. The first of several miracles. Blocked the punt and returned it for a touchdown. And now with 18 seconds on the clock, trailing 28-26, the Thompson needed to recover an onside kick and score again. The Warriors accomplished the first part of the equation with relative ease. No Auburn players seemed particularly keen on trying to recover an onside attempt. And it ended up in the hands of Thompson player at the 46-yard line, and the guy booted it to get the punt, the touchdown, the point after, and then a field goal. It's bullshit that the blue team did that. That's what Marcus would have done if he were on the blue team. Actually, that's Marcus would not have done what the blue team did. He would have drilled that home. He'd have gone for runs to run the clock out rather than kneeling. Or if he was the white team, he wouldn't have said, "It's not over yet. It's not over yet. It's not over yet." We don't play until we play until the whistle. We play until the buzzer. Okay, so now we're back to a little bit of weird news, but this comes from Britain. Great Britain, United Kingdom. Cheerio, mate. That one. Yeah. The little tiny island that's trying to get the hell away from Europe, but not take Ireland with it. So if you guys have an idea that you want to play outside the United States, you can go to university in Europe, and there are many teams locally to wherever wherever your university happens to be located. In fact, Australia and Britain do functionally have a university system. Their universities have sports teams. So if you go to like the Southern Australian University, you can play on their football team. You can go to Britain University. And so, like with England, they started up in 1984 as the British University of Collegiate Sports. British Universities and Colleges Sport. It's the largest sport in UK higher education. They do American football, association football, they do a lot. So basically like Cardiff University will have the Cardiff Cobras and all that various jazz. And it's interesting that they have a university play system, yada yada, but most places in Europe do not have that. Like Leiden University does not have an American football team. I don't even think they have a soccer team. Leiden, the city, does have an American football team, the Lightning. If you want to go to a university in Utrecht, you can play for the Utrecht Dominators, or you can travel about 20 minutes by train to go play for the Hilversum Hurricanes rather than Utrecht Dominators. Hi. Anyways, and plus we have a lot of people that live in Utrecht. So this is moving on to more of the semi-pro part of, so not only do they have university football, they have club sports. And there's a great number of club sports. Like they have many levels. And then there's trying a startup league called the 8GL. Now for those of you in the Pacific Northwest are going to be very familiar with something I'd said 9-man football. So there was a league that started up somewhere in the Willamette Valley area that is, I think it was in Salem. It was 9-man football. I know other places existed because the rules for it are various around, but in the Pacific Northwest it was the 9-man league down in the Willamette Valley. Over the last couple of years, apparently that 9-man league has now moved up to 11 because adding 2 more players is weird. Is not that hard. And so they've moved in with the other leagues that are in the Pacific Northwest and are trying to create one full league, but it never seems to work out very well. In this case, this is the 8-man British American Football Organization, and they have ridiculously mishandled a problem. Their official statement, posted on December 3rd, says, on behalf of the members of the 8GL, we would like to begin our statement by offering our deepest condolences to the family of Jack Welding and his sad passing. Jack had attended a training session with one of our league's current member clubs back before the inception of the 8GL. He suffered some injuries and died because he was not in a full football kit, is what they call it. He didn't have any pads on, and he went against a player that was in full pad. It says, this is according to the St. Helens representatives, we have been assured that all safety precautions were followed adequately and there was no mixing of kitted and non-kitted players. And then someone in here says, 8GL, we do not allow non-kitted and kitted players to mix in training. Also 8GL. And it shows a linebacker with a helmet and a quarterback with a helmet, the O-lineman in full pads, and a running back. Like this looks like, to be fair, my team, we do have people that practice without full pads on because they're slightly injured or whatnot. But they still do practice at what level they do. Like when I broke my collarbone, I didn't put my shoulder pads on. But after a while, I started putting on the actual football pants and the lower pads, and I was doing whatever I could that didn't involve impacting on my shoulder. If we were just, dropping into coverage, I did it. And even when I did put the pads on to get the idea of like your arms are restricted from doing this, I still didn't wear my helmet. Because that's our sign. And that is probably the sign that happens with a lot of football teams. If you're not wearing your helmet, don't fully hit. Even if you are wearing you gotta wear at least the helmet and the shoulder pads to go into full contact. Like, to be fair, not a lot of people do wear their lower pads in practice, but like, if someone's wearing a helmet, like I can understand a quarterback always wearing a helmet, even if they're not. even if nobody else is in pads, because they need to get used to the vision. And they're usually not impacting anyone. So, like, that's weird. Jack Welding, like, died due to those injuries, and I'm not sure much about Jack Welding. But the problem is that 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 small paragraphs on this. 5 of them are devoted to announcing their new season. And I'm just like, this is not a way to go. In fact, the reason why I'm bringing up the drama is because there have already been, and a couple other teams have already announced that they are pulling out of the league because it was mismanaged. And so it's like the worst thing that could happen. And why anyone, like, it's fine. When you're playing with club sports, not everyone's gonna have pads. I totally get it. And with our club, we do provide a helmet and we do provide pads for the new players so they can get used to it, because if you're just running routes, you might as well, try flag. It's not a bad thing. There's a great flag league around here in the Netherlands. If you're coming for American football, you're gonna at least put on some semblance of pads. Even if they don't fully fit and you're wearing XL pads and like the helmet fits the most. Like I think we have a small, a medium, and a large, like at least 3 of each of those, but there's like super old. But it still gets people the idea, and usually we know who the new players are, so it's not like, we're not gonna just lay the person out on the first day, but we're gonna give them a bump so they know they're not just gonna get ear flicked in soccer and fall down and roll halfway to Peru. And you, Neymar. Anyways, so that's what's going on with that. If you guys are actually looking at more England stuff, it's called BAFL, B-A-F-L, British American Football League. I will leave a link to their Facebook below. Most everyone has a Facebook at this point. Okay, maybe not actually BAFL, that's the Belgian American Football League. Link down there below. Anyways, for that too. BAFA, my bad, B-A-F-A, British American Football Association. But yeah, so you guys can look at that stuff. Now we're going on to the weirdest thing. So there is a larger national league called ELF, the European League of Football. Didn't translate very well to English. Or it just, anyways. As announced, the ELF will start with an 8-team league in 2021, 7 in Germany and 1 in Poland, and apparently I've seen something from Barcelona they've picked up recently. Ultimately, according to the organizers, there will be 20 teams across Europe that are planned. However, the GFL, the German Football League, have issued a statement. Karsten Dralkowski, chairman of the GFL, based on the experience we have gained in our sport over many years in Germany and Europe, we are skeptical in the short and medium term about the financial viability of a pure professional football league. There have been various attempts to do this in the past, all of which were not economically successful. In the meantime, the GFL sees the ELF as a competitor for players, sponsors, fans, and venues, and perhaps even import players. Doesn't say that here, but that's venues who would like to act outside of the sport organized in clubs and associations. It is also feared that the ELF would like to make use of the players and structures created by the German clubs. GFL League Board member Axel Streich, the ELF and its investors want to operate as a company outside of the sport organized in Germany and Europe. It is obvious that this approach focuses on making profit and not promoting and developing the sport and its structures in its active athletes. This goes on for a lot longer and starts naming cities in Germany that are probably going to be a part of this. I don't know what to think about this because as I live over here, I see the NFL and I'm like, yeah. And I'm certainly glad that after a while people have stopped calling it World Champion. Now, I completely understand that, like, with baseball, the World Series, and people are like, the World Series, if the world was only the contiguous 48 states of the United States of America. And then maybe like Toronto, but most people are like, Toronto, that's just another part of the United States, right? Canadians, sorry, or something. And I would really like to have, a world American football thing. In terms of the ELF one, I really don't like the acronym, because ELF. Although weirdly, ELF is the Dutch word for 11, so that's had its Dutch memes about it within the football community. And but it's sort of like you want to take players from areas of Germany, 7 areas of Germany that are probably in the top part of their league, top part of their team, take them away from the club. It's sort of like trying to watch the XFL. You're taking high-end semi-pro players or flunked out NCAA, NFL players, and you're putting them in a league that has, the XFL actually had real football rules, but like Arena, really, it feels like they are trying to milk it for money, and that this could be a good thing, because if the ELF does happen and winds up being quasi-successful, that you can actually perhaps get NCAA players that didn't make it to the NFL to come over and play in Europe as part of an import player system for the ELF. I mean, it's still professional playing. They technically are professional playing now because they are paid stipends by the club. At least, they have a place to live and all that stuff. But it's not like they're raking in millions of dollars, and have wonderful houses upon the hilltop to go live in. No, you're most likely crammed in a 3-bedroom apartment with 3 other people that's it's small. Like, I can super imagine if this apartment were owned by a football team here and they had 3 import players in it, they'd cram them all in here, and we're like 75 square meters. Get 2 bedrooms, so you'd have like 1 bedroom with 2 beds across from each other, and then you got the other room, and then this shared area. It's like dormitory style, which is fine, and it would pull the import players out of the club sports, so that would allow the actual country, the national players, to play in the level, in their sports and get better, because there's been a couple players in Poland, Italy, Germany, a couple in France that have talked to me over the years, and they're like, we don't really like the import players. Like, our club wants them to stay competitive, but like, I'm trying to be a running back, and we pulled in a running back from the States, and he gets in on all the plays, and I don't get any playtime in games, and during practice, he just hits so hard that, I'm like, yeah, it's because he's so good that you don't get better. Like, people are like, iron sharpens iron. Yeah, well, there comes a point where someone is so good and trying to prove themselves so hard that they don't let anyone else stand out. And I can hear the comments now if anything shows up on this video. Well, that's how you secure your place as the winner. Stop it with your American bullshit. That's how you secure your place as a winner, is by destroying everybody else. That's like the mindset of a weakling. Don't become better than everyone. Destroy your competition. Like, hey, I'm trying to become a good linebacker. I want to be better than the other guys and a linebacker, not make sure that there are no other linebackers on the team. Like, I got a little off track there. But yeah, that's the issue with Germany's official statement from a couple days ago about the ELF. I haven't read much else. Like I said, Barcelona might be jumping in on this. Barcelona joins the ELF as an 8th location. Barcelona Drax? Oh, okay. So this one is updated as of the 5th, so yesterday. With this, at least 8 teams in 3 European countries will be kicking off the first season of ELF next July, assuming the pandemic allows. The Stuttgart Scorpions, the Ingolstadt Praetorians, and 3-time Polish champions of Wrocław Panthers. I don't know how to pronounce that because the L has a through it, and that's usually pronounced as a W sound. So it's a Wrocław Panthers. Have been announced as the inaugural season, with franchises lingering in Berlin, Hamburg, Frankfurt, and the Hanover-Hildesheim area. General manager of the Barcelona, well-known Europeans, and they're probably because the Barcelona Drax, they're really good in Spain. But yeah, so we'll have to see how this one goes. What do you think of the ELF? Do you think of not giving up on your football game? What do you guys think about all the stuff I brought up recently? especially about mismanagement of like. Anyways, so all these links are going to be below. I'm going to put a title and then the link so you know which link you're clicking on rather than just listing a bunch of stuff that some people do. And I will catch you guys later. Long video, but horrible news. You know, wonderful, lots of news from around the world of American football.